Speaking of the Arizona Diamondbacks, the trade deadline is still so far away. There's so much conversation about the trade deadline. It's like, it's June 13th. Trade deadline's not until July 30th. It will be here before you know it.
Yeah.
Who knows what this team looks like when the trade deadline rolls around?
I loved this piece, though. I thought this was an interesting article on the D-backs.
I did, too. And that's why we're talking about it, because it was Jim Bowden of The Athletic, former big league general manager of the Cincinnati Reds, who kind of took a really early look at the trade deadline to assess trade targets for each team. And his position targets for the Arizona Diamondbacks right now, today, June 13th, position targets, reliever and getting healthy.
And reliever. There's only one problem with this article of his.
Okay.
He mentioned T.J. McFarland. We had him here. He sucked.
Yeah.
He was terrible. He mentioned Austin Adams. We had him here last year. He couldn't get anybody out. Do you remember Austin Adams?
Vaguely.
Oh, he was here last year. He pitched in a bunch of games. He was terrible.
Barely.
He was
him.
terrible with the Diamondbacks. So I'm looking at this list. Michael Kelly, A's, okay. Dylan Floro, Nationals. Reed Garrett, he stinks. He's with the Mets. He's terrible. T.J. McFarland and Austin Adams, they're both on the A's. They both pitched for the Diamondbacks once.
Adams threw 24 games last year for the
terrible.
Diamondbacks. I can barely remember him. He had
my God, he was so bad.
ERA of 5.71.
He got hurt. He got somebody hit a ball off his knee or a leg or something, and he got hurt and didn't pitch anymore. But he got hurt. That's why. Go back to T.J. McFarland. He was here for a couple of years. He was awful. So they mentioned. They mentioned a bunch of A's guys because the A's must be, So Michael Kelly, Dylan Floro, Reed Garrett, T.J. McFarland, Austin Adams, Lucas Erceg from the A's. They mentioned that White Sox pitcher, Steven Wilson, Jason Fowley from the Tigers, who's pretty good. He's pretty good. I like him. Jojo Romero with the Cardinals, lefty, tough lefty. There's a couple of good names in there. There are a couple. I like Romero. I like Foley. There are some good relief pitchers mentioned in here. And then there's two guys that pitched for the Diamondbacks already, and we don't want them back.
T.J. McFarland threw in 141 games for the Diamondbacks back in 17, 18, and 19. Yes, 3 different years that he pitched
Can
here.
you figure out what his total ERA was? Because it must have been bad.
3.86.
That was what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm like, make sure you're talking about the same guy.
Go year by year.
It was 5.332 and 4.82. But the ERA that was 2, that was when he made the bulk of his appearances for the Diamondbacks. Yeah.
Okay, because then he had 2 years where he wasn't any good.
Yeah, his career 3.86 career ERA according to Baseball Reference. Anyway, look, the point is, at least for me, I mean, I understand your point is that these guys aren't any good and all that stuff.
Some of them
aren't any good. For me, the point is twofold. Number one, I don't think I would identify reliever as the main thing the Diamondbacks need to be shopping for at the deadline.
No, third base.
That's number one.
Third base.
Third base is number one.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, it really is. And number two is kind of an offshoot of number one. Every team is looking for relief pitching at the deadline. Every team. That to me is such a universal, every contender, every team that thinks they're in, they're always looking for an extra arm down there. Lefty, righty, doesn't matter. Somebody to help with depth, somebody to help in case there's an injury, that to me is almost like a standard in Major League Baseball. What are you looking for? We're looking for a reliever. Of course, everybody's looking for a reliever on the deadline.
And the A's are like, we have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of guys.
We got this guy, that guy. We got 4 guys. You want them?
Now, you might say, given the state of the starting pitching for the Diamondbacks, that maybe they should be looking for one of those, but they're going to get those guys back, hopefully, with Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez and Zach Gallen, who I think threw another bullpen today and has a simulated game coming up in a couple of days, so he might be getting close. Mike Hazen, yesterday when he was on with Wolf and Luke, and this is a longer answer, but it's good, on the problem about rumors this time of year with the trades. Here's what he said.
Well, I mean, this one, I don't know. Sometimes they just come out of the blue, and you're like, man, where did this stuff even come from sometimes? But it happens. You're absolutely right. It becomes a tricky little situation. I try to be honest with the guys. If there's something to that and somebody ever came and asked me, I'd be honest with them. That's not the case in this situation. Other than that, I think it becomes a little bit of an unspoken part of what we all do. I'm not sure players all the time want to know the exact truth. because sometimes you can fixate on that, and your job has to be to go out there and block out distractions.
But as far as how active they could be at the deadline, he says it's really hard to tell, and here's the reason why.
Wolf, it's an excellent question. Don't let anybody talk you off of that, okay? No, you can never start too early. The problem is you need a willing participant, right? Like I had, when we lost Lawler and Perdomo and everything was kind of up in the air for us, we had to talk about our infield depth and what even getting guys in AAA, not even guys because – Blaze and Kevin were doing a good job for us. That was a challenge. So, but I didn't have anybody willing to be like, yeah, it's April. We'll give you our depth. So the requests I got back for names were rightly so, trying to kind of rip you off a little bit, as they should. And so it became prohibitive. So sometimes as much as you want to make changes or look to make changes, if you don't have a willing participant on the other side, you're not going to be getting any trades done. So I would imagine conversations have started to heat up. Activity will probably start in another couple of weeks, and then the real serious stuff won't start till the middle of July.
Biggio got traded to the Dodgers.
There have been a few, yeah.
But they had designated him because he wasn't playing very well.
Arise got traded from the Marlins to the Padres.
That was early.
That was unusually early to see a guy get traded like that. But if Mike were to get on the phone right now and start calling about third baseman, first of all, there's only so many teams he can call, right? There are what, 5 teams that are probably like identifiable. We're selling, we're
Tigers,
out.
A's, Nationals,
Angels,
White Sox, Angels.
Yeah,
that's 5.
There aren't the Rockies. There just
Colorado,
aren't that many.
Maybe the Mets.
Yeah, there aren't that many that you could look at and say, oh yeah, we know for absolute sure, we're sellers. And number 2, it is very much like they're going to know the Diamondbacks are desperate for a third baseman. The Diamondbacks probably reek of desperation right now when it comes to a third baseman, so that they're going to get ripped off. It's going to be, oh, sure, you want a third baseman? Yeah. Right. We're going to take X, Y, and Z for him because you guys are desperate for one because Eugenio Suarez can't hit anything right now. Sure, we'll be happy to give you a third baseman. It's the supply and demand ratio is all askew right now this time of year. There's just, you go asking for a position you need now, you probably are going to get scammed to a certain extent by teams that are looking to kill you in the deal because they think you're desperate to make a deal.
Yeah.
And that's where the trouble is.
Yeah, I mean, even you look at a guy like Nolan Arenado. I mean, St. Louis is they're a game under 500. They're not going to they're going to try to make the playoffs. Like what? And Arenado still has 3 years left on his deal after this year. So you're not getting a guy like that. You're going to look for a third baseman that can be part of a platoon, and you don't have to give up a whole lot to get him, but he can come in here and he could at least give you half the games from one side of the plate.
There are only right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are more than 5.5 games out of a wild card spot. Only 5. The Angels, the A's, the White Sox, the Rockies, and the Marlins. That's it. Everybody else in Major League Baseball is 5.5 or less out of the last wild card spot.
And they're probably going to wait out the next few weeks to see where they're at.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching Burns Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.